My name is Daniel Carter, and until 3 months ago, I thought I had the perfect marriage. My wife Ashley and I had been together for 8 years, married for 6. We lived in a quiet cul-de-sac in Asheville, North Carolina, the kind of place where neighbors wave when you walk your dog and share apple pie recipes at block parties. I'm an IT consultant, mostly working from home, and Ashley is a freelance illustrator. She used to paint in the attic, soft music drifting down the stairs, the scent of lavender always hanging in the air. We didn't have kids yet, though we'd been trying. Or at least, I thought we were trying. The beginning of the end started on an ordinary Thursday morning. It began with a dream. Not just any dream, the kind that grips you by the throat and doesn't let go. In the dream, I was standing in our kitchen. The walls were the same soft blue Ashley painted last summer, the fridge was humming its familiar tune. But something felt off. Like I wasn't alone even though I couldn't see anyone. Then I heard a voice. A man's voice. Low, rough. Laughing. It was coming from upstairs. I walked toward the staircase, each creak of the steps amplifying my dread. The door to our bedroom was slightly ajar. Light poured out, and so did the sound of whispered words, breathless moans. I pushed the door open. Ashley was in bed with someone else. I couldn't see his face. He was behind her, his hands on her hips, her face buried in the pillow. And she was smiling. Not like someone caught in a mistake. Not ashamed. She looked satisfied. My heart pounded, but I couldn't move. Couldn't speak. Then the man turned his head slightly. He was wearing a gray hoodie, the kind delivery guys wear. There was a logo on the back, Swift Drop Logistics. That was when I woke up. Soaked in sweat. Shaking. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at Ashley's sleeping form next to me. Her breathing was soft, lips slightly parted. She looked peaceful. Innocent. Too innocent. I told myself it was just a dream. Maybe it meant I was insecure, or stressed about work, or frustrated with our fertility journey. But something about it clung to me, like the sour taste of bad milk. I went downstairs, made coffee, tried to shake it off. The clock read 6:43 a.m. At 8:12, the doorbell rang. Ashley padded down the stairs in her robe. I heard her gasp softly, then open the door. A voice, deep, casual, said, "Morning, ma'am. Got a package for you." I froze. That voice. It was the exact same from my dream. I stepped into the hallway. The guy was wearing a gray hoodie. On the back? The logo, Swift Drop Logistics. Ashley turned quickly, surprised. "Babe, this is the new sketchpad I told you about. I ordered it a couple days ago." The delivery guy didn't look at me directly, just gave a polite nod. "Have a good one, sir," he said, and walked off the porch. I watched his van pull away. My hands were shaking, just slightly. That couldn't be a coincidence, right? Ashley didn't seem flustered. But something about her smile, it was too controlled. Too rehearsed. Over the next week, the dreams came back. Not the same, but similar. Each time, more detailed. More visceral. In one, I watched them in the living room. The same guy. Ashley straddling him on our couch, the blanket I bought from Yellowstone crumpled beneath them. In another, I saw texts, her phone screen glowing in the dark, messages like, "You thinking about me? He's not home tomorrow morning. Come at 10. I miss the way you smell." Each time I woke up more rattled than before. I even started writing them down in a notebook, trying to find patterns. But here's the thing. Every time I had a dream, something real matched it the next day. I started testing things. On Monday, I told Ashley I had to visit a client's site out of town. I didn't. I drove around the block. Parked on the opposite side of the street, behind some bushes. Waited. At 10:06 a.m., the Swift Drop van pulled up. I watched as Ashley opened the door in the same pale blue robe she wore in the dream. She let him in. I felt something inside me snap. Not a sharp crack, but a slow, sickening bend like metal warping under heat. I waited 30 minutes. Then 40. At the 1 hour mark, he walked out, adjusting his hoodie. He didn't carry any packages. His hands were in his pockets. Ashley came out 2 minutes later to check the mailbox, her cheeks slightly flushed. I didn't confront her that day. Or the next. Something inside me wanted more than confrontation. I wanted truth. I wanted proof. I wanted to understand how far the rot went. And part of me, the broken, twisted part, wondered how long she'd keep lying if I pretended I was still asleep. So I set up hidden cameras. Microphones. In the kitchen, living room, even upstairs. And I started pretending. Pretending to go to work. Pretending to love her kisses. Pretending to sleep. But every night, the dreams came stronger. Every morning, more of them came true. I began to wonder, were the dreams showing me what had happened? Or what was about to? I used to think I'd never be the kind of guy who snoops on his wife. That I'd never plant a hidden mic in our bedroom or aim a security camera at the woman I swore to love and protect. But when you start catching glimpses of hell through your own dreams, you stop caring about morality. You start searching for the truth, no matter how ugly it is. By the following Monday, I had 3 mini cameras set up. Living room shelf, disguised as a decorative clock. Kitchen cabinet, angled toward the entryway. Bedroom smoke detector, she never questioned it. The microphone in the bedroom was the most painful. I'd stare at the blinking red light and wonder what kind of betrayal it would capture. I wanted answers, but I wasn't ready for the ones I got. Tuesday morning. I kissed Ashley on the forehead, told her I had a client pitch downtown. She smiled like everything was normal. I'll be working on the Turner illustration today, she said, brushing her hair back in the mirror. Probably won't even notice you're gone. I nodded. Love you. Love you too. She didn't even blink when I walked out. But I didn't go downtown. I parked 3 streets away. Logged into the hidden feed on my laptop. The house came into view, every room, crystal clear. The morning light spilling through the kitchen. The hallway shadows. The silence before the storm. At exactly 10:04 a.m., the Swift Drop van pulled up. He was early this time. Ashley was already waiting by the door, wearing the same blue robe. She let him in. No hesitation. No pretense of a package. "Hey, baby," he said, his voice low. Confident. Too familiar. She pulled him in by the collar, and I watched helplessly as she kissed him. Deep. Hungry. Like she missed him. "Daniel left an hour ago," she whispered. He chuckled. Always so predictable. I closed the laptop. My hands were shaking again. That night, I didn't say anything. I lay beside her in bed, staring at the ceiling, pretending to sleep while she curled into me like nothing was wrong. But I could still hear it. That man's voice. That name. Baby. I started replaying the audio recordings during the day. Torturing myself with the evidence. I heard things I never imagined I'd hear from Ashley's mouth. "You feel better than him. I think about you when we're having sex. He has no idea. He never will." Each line felt like a knife. Twisted. Deliberate. But the worst came Thursday. I was in my parked car again, listening to the feed. I wasn't even watching this time, I was too drained. But then I heard something new. He asked her a question. "Why don't you just leave him?" She laughed. That beautiful, airy laugh I used to love. "Because he pays the bills. He's safe. You're fun." I felt the air leave my lungs. Safe. That's all I was to her. Not a husband. Not a partner. Just a security net. I stared at my own reflection in the car window. My eyes looked hollow. My face older. When had I become a stranger to myself? That night, I had another dream. But this time, it was different. Ashley was sitting on the floor of the living room, crying. Her hands were covered in blood. The delivery guy was gone. The door was wide open. The house was dark. And then I saw it, my own body, lying at the foot of the stairs. Broken. Twisted. I woke up screaming. Ashley jolted upright. Jesus, Daniel. What the hell? It was a nightmare, I gasped. Just a dream. She looked genuinely concerned. Touched my forehead. You're burning up. I forced a smile. I'll be okay. But I knew I wouldn't. By Friday, I had a decision to make. Do I confront her? Do I let the fantasy of our marriage collapse under the weight of this affair? Or do I wait and see how deep it really goes? I didn't want revenge. I wanted clarity. So I decided to test her. One final time. I booked a fake business trip. Told her I'd be gone overnight. Gave her every reason to believe she had the house and her lover to herself. I'll be back tomorrow afternoon, I said, tossing my suitcase in the trunk. Don't wait up tonight. She hugged me at the door. Kissed me on the cheek. Text me when you land, okay? I nodded. Love you. She smiled. Love you too. The same lie, on repeat. I drove 2 hours out to a lake cabin I used to visit with my brother. Quiet. Secluded. And with perfect Wi-Fi. I opened my laptop. Switched on the live feed. And waited. At 10:03 a.m., like clockwork, the van arrived. But this time, he didn't just visit. He stayed. They cooked together. Laughed. Made pancakes. Danced in the kitchen to some old jazz song. He wore one of my t-shirts. He kissed her like they'd been together for years. They watched a movie on our couch, the same one Ashley and I cuddled on every Saturday night. At one point, she rested her head on his chest and said, I could stay like this forever. He said nothing. But the silence spoke volumes. When I closed the laptop that night, I knew it was over. Not just the marriage. The person I thought Ashley was, she never existed. All that remained now was the truth. And the confrontation. I just didn't know yet how dangerous that confrontation would become. Because the dreams weren't done with me. By Saturday morning, I was numb. I had spent the night at the lake cabin with my fists clenched and my mind racing through every possible scenario: confrontation, confession, even walking away without a word. But the more I replayed that final moment, her head on his chest, her whisper, I could stay like this forever, the more something inside me broke. I wasn't just watching a betrayal anymore. I was watching a replacement take shape. A man who wore my t-shirts. Sat on my couch. Slept in my bed. A man who didn't earn any of it. Just delivered a box and stole my life. I drove back Sunday morning. My plan wasn't complicated. I would confront her with the evidence. Show her the recordings. Watch her face crack. I wasn't going to yell or scream. I wasn't even going to cry. I just wanted to see if she had the spine to admit it. But when I walked in the door, everything felt wrong. There was music playing, old jazz, the same song from the video. The smell of burned toast lingered in the air. The living room was a mess, a blanket draped over the couch, a coffee mug half full on the side table, his hoodie on the floor. I took a step into the kitchen and froze. The sink was filled with pink water. I blinked. It wasn't just water. It was blood. Smeared on the faucet. Spattered on the edge of the counter. A towel shoved deep into the drain, soaked crimson. My first instinct? He's still here. I reached into the drawer and pulled out the closest thing to a weapon, a heavy-duty steak knife. My heart thundered in my chest as I crept through the hallway, every door slightly ajar. No one in the guest room. No one in the bedroom. Then I opened the bathroom. Ashley was sitting on the floor, her robe soaked in red. Her hands trembled, and her eyes, vacant, hollow, locked onto mine. "Daniel," she whispered. "I didn't mean to. I dropped the knife." "What the hell happened?" I knelt beside her, grabbing her shoulders. "Ashley, talk to me." She pointed to the bathtub. "He came early," she said, voice like paper tearing. "I told him I couldn't keep doing this. I told him I loved you. That it was over. He got angry." I stared at the tub. Empty. But wet. A trail of water led out onto the tile. Drops of blood in scattered patterns. "I grabbed the mug," she whispered. "The ceramic one you got me in Colorado. Hit him with it." I blinked, still trying to catch up. "Where is he now?" She looked away. "I don't know. We didn't call the police. Not at first." I was still trying to make sense of what was real. Was this the truth? A desperate attempt to cover up a falling affair? Or another layer of deception? I checked the cameras. At 9:57 a.m., he arrived. At 10:06 a.m., the audio in the kitchen picked up the first sounds of an argument. "You said you'd talk to him after the trip." I changed my mind. "You're not going back to him, Ash. He's a joke." Then a scream. A crash. Silence. At 10:10, the footage cut out. Just static. My hands began to sweat. That wasn't a glitch. Someone had unplugged the camera from the kitchen feed. Deliberately. I scrubbed through the living room angle. At 10:17, Ashley appeared, wiping her arms with a towel. She moved calmly. Too calmly. Then she did something I wasn't ready for. She walked over to the security camera on the shelf and smiled directly into it. A small, eerie, knowing smile. Then reached up and unplugged it too. I stared at the paused frame on my laptop, her face frozen mid-smirk. My pulse thudded in my ears. This wasn't a woman in shock. This wasn't someone covering up an attack. This was someone in control. I closed the laptop and walked back to the living room. Ashley was still sitting there, wrapped in a blanket, eyes red. "I think you should tell me what really happened," I said, my voice flat. She looked up at me. "I already did." "Then why'd you unplug the cameras?" She hesitated. Just for a moment. But it was enough. "You've been spying on me?" she asked, deflecting. I didn't answer. Just stared. Her hands gripped the edges of the blanket. "Is that why you're really back early?" I didn't blink. "I saw everything," I finally said. "Every time he came over. Every time you kissed him. Every time you let him into my home." She dropped her head. "I wanted to tell you," she said. "I was going to, but I kept waiting for the right moment." "There's no right moment for betrayal, Ash." She started to cry. And I wanted to believe it was guilt. I wanted to believe it was sorrow. But in the back of my mind, something kept whispering. This isn't over. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stayed up, laptop open, scrubbing through footage from the day before when I was still at the cabin. At one point, just after the courier left around 2 p.m., Ashley walked into the bedroom and opened the drawer next to my side of the bed. She pulled something out, something small, black, rectangular. The backup audio recorder. She stared at it. Then she crushed it under her heel. And smiled. Again. By 4 a.m., I had made my choice. This wasn't love. This wasn't regret. This was something darker. Calculated. I needed to know the full truth. Even if it destroyed me. Because now it wasn't just about the affair. It was about what else she was hiding. And whether I was still safe in my own house. I didn't go to work Monday morning. I couldn't. Instead, I drove out to the edge of town, to the quiet stretch of road that twisted through the pines and ran behind the old quarry. The same road where I had followed the courier's van in my dream. It haunted me, that image, the gravel kicking up under his tires, Ashley's silhouette in the passenger seat, laughing at something only he could say. I parked behind a screen of trees and waited. I didn't know for what. I had no plan. Just instinct. I sat in that car until my coffee went cold and my knuckles cramped from gripping the steering wheel. And then, it happened. At 11:47 a.m., a white delivery van rounded the corner, the kind with no logo, no license plate on the front. It wasn't the same one from my dream, but it felt close enough to make my skin crawl. The driver's window was down. The man inside was wearing sunglasses. He looked left, right, then pulled off the road and into a narrow path barely wide enough for the tires. My pulse quickened. Without thinking, I started the engine and followed. The path wound deep into the woods, overgrown and rarely used. My tires crunched fallen branches and leaves. I killed my headlights and coasted in silence. About 100 yards in, I saw it. A clearing. The van was parked beside a rusted-out trailer, camouflaged under moss and pine needles. Someone had lived here, maybe still did. There was an old fire pit, scorched black. Folding chairs. A bucket full of beer bottles. I killed the engine. No sound. No movement. Then the back of the van creaked open. I slid out of the car and crouched behind a tree. From where I stood, I could just make out the courier Caleb. I finally remembered. His name was Caleb. He climbed into the back and began moving things. Boxes. Black duffels. A rolled-up rug. He was careful. Intentional. He wasn't delivering anything. He was removing evidence. My mind spun. What was this place? A hideout? A drop point? Did Ashley know about it? A second figure emerged from the trailer. And my blood ran cold. It was Ashley. She looked different. Her hair was pulled back, her clothes casual, but the way she moved was what struck me. There was no guilt. No shame. She handed him something, a small box. Jewelry. He laughed. She kissed him. I felt something in me snap. This wasn't a breakup. This wasn't her telling him it was over. This was their place. A secret life built in the shadows, far from my eyes. She hadn't been forced into anything. She wasn't a victim. She was a partner. I reached into my pocket and started recording on my phone. Video. Audio. Everything. Then Ashley said something that froze me completely. He doesn't suspect anything. Not really. He thinks it was just a fling. Caleb smirked. And the cameras? Handled. Good, he said, lighting a cigarette. Because if he finds the second phone, we're screwed. Second phone? I leaned forward, heart pounding. Ashley continued, I stashed it in the vent. Same place I hid your key that night you surprised me. Caleb laughed again. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. She had a second phone. One I didn't know about. One hidden inside our house in a vent. I slipped away without making a sound. Drove straight back home, mind spinning with questions I didn't want to ask. Everything she'd told me had been a lie, even the blood in the sink. The attack was staged. The towel? Probably ketchup or a butchered lie. There had been no rage. No desperation. Only strategy. I entered the house like a thief, double-checking to make sure Ashley wasn't home. She wouldn't be for hours. I went straight to the bedroom and dropped to my knees by the baseboard vent on her side of the bed. Unscrewed the cover. Reached in. Felt it, cold plastic. A phone. I pulled it out. It was cheap. Burner style. I powered it on no passcode. Just open messages. The top thread was labeled with a single red heart emoji. Inside, dozens of messages. Ashley, he's still watching the cameras. Red heart, doesn't matter. By the time he figures it out, we'll be long gone. Ashley, do you think he suspects the money? Red heart, not unless he checks the bank. You transferred to the right account? Ashley, of course. Just like you said. Little by little. He never noticed. Money? I opened the banking app. It was still logged in. And what I saw nearly sent me to the floor. $47,850 in wire transfers. All to an account under the name C.R. Donovan, Caleb's full name. Over the past 3 months, my wife had been slowly bleeding my savings dry. And I hadn't noticed. I had been so obsessed with love that I missed the heist happening right under my nose. That night, I sat at the kitchen table staring at the second phone, wondering how deep this betrayal went. Was she planning to leave me? Frame me? Drain me until there was nothing left? Was Caleb dangerous? Was she? At 8:42 p.m., Ashley walked in, smiling like nothing had changed. She kissed me on the cheek and set down a grocery bag. "Hey, babe," she said sweetly. "You okay? You look tired." I stared at her, the woman I'd loved, built a life with, nearly married a second time. And for the first time since this began, I felt nothing. Not love. Not rage. Not sadness. Just cold, clear determination. She sat across from me and opened her laptop. Logged into her email. Sipped tea. And I asked her, casually, "How much do you love me?" She blinked. "What?" "I mean it," I said. "On a scale of 1 to 10. She smiled. 10. I nodded. "Good," I whispered. "Because I think you're going to need every bit of that love to explain what the hell you're doing with him." She froze. Didn't blink. Didn't flinch. Just slowly set her cup down. Then smiled again, not warm, not playful. A sharp, dangerous smile. "Daniel," she said softly. "You should have never gone through that vent." She stared at me with eyes I didn't recognize anymore. Gone was the warmth, the nervous guilt, the flicker of love that once danced behind her pupils. Now her gaze was cold. Calculated. Her mouth curled into a controlled smirk. "I told you," she said again. "You should have never touched that vent." My heart pounded in my ears, but I forced my face to remain neutral. I wouldn't give her the satisfaction of seeing me scared. I slid the burner phone across the table toward her. She didn't even look at it. "What is this?" I asked quietly. She shrugged. "Insurance." "Insurance?" I repeated. "Ashley, you've been funneling our savings into an account under Caleb's name. You've been lying to me for months. Meeting in the woods. Planning something. For what? A getaway? A new life? What the hell is going on?" Ashley finally leaned back in her chair, her fingers gently tapping the ceramic mug in front of her. She was eerily calm. "You don't understand," she said. "Then make me understand," I snapped. She took a deep breath and said something I'll never forget. "You were never supposed to find out. Not like this. But since we're here, fine. You want the truth? Caleb isn't just some fling. He's not just a mistake I made out of loneliness or boredom. He's the beginning of something better." I didn't speak. Ashley continued. "Do you know what it's like to wake up every day and feel like you're suffocating in your own life? I tried to be the woman you wanted. The woman who packed your lunch, did the laundry, smiled in every family photo while you climbed corporate ladders and treated me like a houseplant." My fists clenched. "You could have told me," I said. "We could have worked through it. Together." She laughed bitterly. "Together? You stopped seeing me years ago, Daniel. Caleb didn't. He saw me. He listened. He gave me the thrill I'd forgotten existed. And the money? I asked. She didn't flinch. We were building something. Starting over. I needed out, Daniel. And if I was going to leave, I wasn't leaving empty-handed. The rage inside me was nuclear, but beneath it, something more dangerous had begun to rise. Clarity. I couldn't let emotion control me anymore. So I took a deep breath and stood up. Walked over to the hallway. Ashley watched me like a hawk. I reached up, took the mirror off the wall. Behind it, another vent. Smaller. Almost hidden. I unscrewed the cover and pulled out a black envelope, one I'd found 2 nights ago when she'd gone for a drive to clear her head. I'd waited. Then searched. And found this. I dropped the envelope on the table in front of her. Inside, a forged passport. $7,000 in cash. A one-way plane ticket to Tulum, Mexico, dated next week. Ashley stared at it, finally blinking. Her face cracked for the first time. "You're not running," I said coldly. "Not anymore." The mask fell. Her smile vanished. Ashley stood up slowly, stepping away from the table, her hand sliding subtly into her coat pocket. "Don't," I said, warning in my tone. "What are you going to do, Daniel?" she hissed. "Call the cops? Tell them your wife cheated on you and tried to take her own money? There's no proof. No camera footage. No fingerprints. I've wiped everything. Except for the phone," I replied. "And the recordings I took in the woods. Your voice. Caleb's face. You talking about the transfers. It's all saved. Sent to a cloud server. And my attorney." Her eyes widened. Then narrowed. "I didn't want it to end like this," she said. "But if you push me, I'll bury you, Daniel." I laughed, bitter and sharp. "No, Ashley. You already tried." Suddenly, the front door rattled. 3 sharp knocks. Ashley froze. I saw real fear flash across her face now. I walked over and opened the door. Standing there was Detective Lena Morell, a tall, sharp-eyed woman from the local precinct I'd spoken to that morning. "Mr. Harper," she asked. "You said you had evidence to submit?" I stepped aside. Ashley looked between us. Then back at me. "You called the police," she whispered. "No," I said calmly. "I called them 3 days ago." The next hour was chaos. Detective Morell took the phone, the bank records, the envelope, even the recording from the woods. Ashley sat on the couch, silent, her jaw tight, knowing she couldn't talk her way out of it now. But she didn't beg. She didn't cry. She simply watched me, eyes blazing with hatred, as she was handcuffed and led out the door. Not arrested, not yet. But under serious investigation. Enough for the DA to start pulling warrants. Enough to stop her from running. That night, I sat in silence. The house felt different. Emptier. Not because she was gone, but because the illusion was finally shattered. I thought of the mirror. The vent. The woods. The betrayal etched into every casual smile she ever gave me. And I remembered something she once said on our honeymoon in Denver, lying under the stars. "If I ever lied to you, I'd want you to know it just so you could still choose me." I'd chosen her. Again and again. But now? I was choosing myself. They say dreams are just fragments of our subconscious, stitched together into nonsense. But I know better now. I know what I saw. Because long before Ashley confessed, before the woods, before the mirror, before the phone, I saw everything in a dream. And I didn't believe it. It was a week after her arrest. She hadn't been charged yet, but the investigation was well underway. Her lawyer was slippery, expensive. Her friends, the ones I thought were ours, had all vanished. Some even messaged me behind closed doors with I had no idea. I'm so sorry. Lies. I hadn't returned to our bedroom. I slept on the couch, TV off, lights dimmed. The silence of the house was now oppressive. But it was that night, 7 days since the last time I saw her face, that the dream returned. It started exactly the same. I was back in the hallway. Late afternoon sun through the blinds. I walked toward the mirror. But this time, something was off. The hallway kept stretching. Longer. Dimmer. The mirror became a door. I stepped through. On the other side was our kitchen, but not as I remembered it. The light was tinted green, flickering like some old gas station. The fridge hummed unnaturally. There was a ticking like a bomb counting down. I turned. Ashley sat at the table, dressed in black. Her face smeared with dirt. Her eyes were sunken, empty. "You weren't supposed to see it," she whispered. "What?" She slowly raised her arm and pointed behind me. I turned. There he was. Caleb. But not as he looked in real life. No. He was twisted. Taller. Skin peeling. His face looked like it had been carved by regret. "I didn't want to hurt you," he said, voice static, mouth not moving. "But she promised me everything." I stumbled back. Ashley stood now. "She gave me everything," she said. "Even you." I opened my mouth to scream. But the floor beneath me split open. And I fell. Down through a tunnel of every memory we ever had: our wedding, our first kiss, the late-night road trips, the time we argued in Vegas over the wrong hotel booking. All of them now smeared with lies. At the end of the tunnel, I landed in our bedroom. Only it wasn't a bedroom. It was a coffin. Ashley stood over it, her face blank. Then she whispered something I didn't understand, until I woke up. I bolted upright on the couch, drenched in sweat. The whisper echoed in my ears. "You never really woke up, Daniel." The clock said 3:19 a.m. I walked slowly to the bathroom, splashed cold water on my face, stared into the mirror. But I couldn't stop shaking. Something felt wrong. And then, like a jolt through my spine, I remembered the old phone. The burner I gave the detective. It was gone. I raced to my locked drawer. Empty. The USB stick? Missing. My heart thundered. I checked the cloud account I'd set up, the one with all the recordings, the evidence. 404 error. My backups? Corrupted. Suddenly my phone lit up with a notification. Locked with key login from unknown device, San Luis, Mexico. No. No. She was supposed to be locked down. Monitored. Watched. But she wasn't. She was gone. I drove to the precinct at sunrise. Detective Morell wasn't in. I waited 3 hours. When she arrived, I told her everything about the missing evidence, the cloud breach, the burner phone. She looked stunned. Pulled up Ashley's records. No active case. No formal charges. No digital trail of the interview. No submitted phone. Nothing. It was like it never happened. "I don't understand," Morell said. "You said I came to your house?" "Yes." I cried. "You took the phone from me. You handed me a receipt." She shook her head. "I've never been to your home, Mr. Harper. I've never seen that phone." And just like that, reality shattered again. The trap wasn't just her betrayal. It was the illusion of justice. The rest unraveled quickly. The financial investigation? Shut down. Her forged passport? Insufficient to prove intent. Her lover? Disappeared, no work record, no known residence, no credit history. As if he never existed. Even the photos I took in the woods? Gone from my phone. Every door I tried to open was locked, and every key I had was now made of wax. And that's when I realized. The dream wasn't a warning. It was a message. Ashley never needed to bury me. She just needed me to bury myself. Because in chasing the truth, in opening every vent, every secret, every forbidden door, I'd burned every bridge behind me. And now? She was free. She'd won. It's been 2 months since that morning. I still see her in my dreams, but she doesn't whisper anymore. She laughs. Some nights I wake up and swear I hear the sound of a delivery van idling outside. Other nights, I find dirt on the hallway floor. Footprints. I clean them every time. But they always come back. Because maybe, just maybe, I never really woke up.